You, the parent, is the best judge of what your child should and shouldn't be doing and what your child needs. And it's the old line about, if you're not your child's advocate, no one else will be. It's true.
If you see anything that doesn't seem in the norm, reach out, find that information. Find that information because the longer you wait, the higher level of care your child is going to need.
Like I always say, it's a storm that's going to pass. It's not easy, and this is something that's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen over time. And you have to have patience, you have to have faith.
Hello, my name is Kim O'Reilly, and I'll be your host on the Caring Network. The Caring Network is a show about people's personal struggles with mental illness, about their hopes, their dreams, their challenges, their disappointments, and their recovery. Join me as three mothers share their stories about what they did to make sure their child got the correct diagnosis and the care, treatment, and services their child needed.
Things started with Shamar when he was in preschool at the age of 4. His behavior started to really show. He was very aggressive, a lot of screaming and yelling, couldn't be still, couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate, a lot of fighting, disrupting the class. And so that's when we really noticed there was something going on with Shamar. Shamar has some mood swings. From time to time, you never know what's going to really set him off. It could be the smallest things that will set Shamar off, and he would just be like out of control. You know, you have to try to win him back in. So, I think that when you compare him to the average boy his age, that Shamar is his energy level is like really, really high, really, and he have trouble with learning. My husband and I, we both went back and forth blaming each other. We was very hurt, trying to figure out where did we go wrong as parents, and knew that we had to get to the bottom of it. Had to put some answers together. At first, I didn't know where to go to get help, until I called 211, and it was a big help. They was able to direct me to different services. They was the one that really directed me to the REACH program. And I called them up, and they was really great. I heard of a support group called BPES, which BPES stands for Bridgeport Parent Empowerment Support and Training. And they are moms that's going through the same thing that I'm going through, kids that have behavioral and emotional issues. So I decided to go and see what that was about. And I didn't share at first. Because I was afraid of being judged. So I went a couple of times and I just listened, and I was like, okay, well, these parents are going through what I'm going through. And then I got involved. I started volunteering. I started helping out. I went through a lot of training with them. Shared a lot of stuff. We cried, we laughed together. Shamar became a part of it. Got to meet kids that was going through the same thing he was going through. I also put other things in place for him, which he still is going through. My whole thing with Shamar is to reinforce positive behavior. So I got him involved in karate and basketball and baseball, different sports. And I'm a therapist, which he still is seeing a therapist right till this day. Everything is going great. It's going great. I am very pleased and happy to say that. He's in the 3rd grade now, and things are going great. It's not easy, and this is something that's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen over time. Like I always say, it's a storm that's going to pass, and you have to have patience. You have to have faith.
Children and adolescents experience mental health disorders that interfere with the way they think, act, and feel. Studies show that 1 in 5 children and adolescents have a mental health disorder, yet only 20% of those children actually receive care.
So 1st grade started, and everything was not great. He didn't like his teacher. He started acting out in class. He started hurting the teacher, hurting the aides, running away, saying very threatening things in class. And he was then put full-time in his school's resource room. You know, while all this is going on, Alan and I are thinking, help us, you know, we're in hell. Our child clearly got issues. We were already spending time with a psychologist. We'd hooked up with a psychiatrist eventually. We'd started him on medication. And you never really know if what people are doing for your child is effective and if it's the right path to be taking. But we did what we thought we should be doing, consulting experts, taking their advice, speaking candidly with our school system. Here's our child's problems. Here's how we're trying to deal with it. Telling the world, if you have suggestions, let us know what they are. We'll do them. We want to make our house and our child's school life as smooth as we can, and we're not getting that yet. So after my child was put in the resource room and completely fell apart because he started really acting out, they finally agreed we're probably not the right place for him. And our school system put him in CES, which is a school system in Trumbull. It's a regional school system where they're able to cope with kids who are explosive and uncontrollable in many situations. And so we were lucky when we were able to be a part of CES. CES is a huge support system. They support us not only in the school, but they help us with things in our home. If we need help encouraging Zachary to do teeth brushing, they'll try to provide us with a way of doing that that reduces the stress in our family. We are lucky that we also have some professionals we deal with, psychiatrists for Zachary, and we've had various psychologists involved. And they're the people who can help you understand what are the options, be your advocates. Another way we found support was through friends. We have friends who also have children with challenges, and we've really made our own network where we know that we're there for each other. If a child's having a problem in a family, we're willing to take each other's siblings and do what we need to, help kids get to appointments, give some respite where necessary. We're lucky that we have people to help us with that. The hardest part for us is not having family nearby. We have family in 2 different states, and they're not here. So we're alone with a child falling apart, trying to manage our daily lives, trying to be new in a community and build up things with all of this chaos. Chaos in the house, chaos out of the house. You feel guilty as a parent saying this, but when he was in the hospital, it was the first time I could take a breath in a long time. I didn't have to worry when I woke up what my day would be like. I knew what my day was going to be like. The stress of having him be a part of our daily life is taking a toll. I think the hardest thing is thinking you're alone. Even with a support system in place, you still know it's your burden. If I could tell anybody how to cope with that situation, I would let them know that they need to be part of the system as soon as possible. And don't take no for an answer, and don't be brushed off as I was. You, the parent, is the best judge of what your child should and shouldn't be doing and what your child needs. So you spend all your time reading books, you spend all of your time on the internet, you hope you're not getting erroneous information, you try and put the pieces together, and you try to become an educated advocate.
For many parents, when they first learn that their child may have a mental illness, it can be a very frightening and overwhelming experience.
Now, when I refer to Juan as an abstract painting, I envision all the beautiful, bright colors, all the dark, murky colors that emerge from that abstract painting. There's also some pastel colors, and there's also some exotic ones. And you can get glimpses at each and every one of those colors and all those shapes. And they all form what mental illness is all about. Behind all of that distortion is a beautiful baby boy that was born October 19th, 1993. As a mother, it's my mission to help everyone that comes in contact with my child, whether it's accessing services for Juan, to realize that if you stand long enough in front of that abstract painting, you'll see glimpses of who he truly is. The biggest tool that I found advocating for my son was creating his portable record, which I've personalized. Um, I keep all of his records in this portable file, which kind of simplifies the process because you're meeting with a multiple variety of providers, and you're often asked the same question. I wanted them to remember and to acknowledge the fact that you may have a lot of children come through your practice, but this is my child. The hardest decision that I ever had to do for Juan was allow him to go into the hospital setting. At the beginning, it was just for stabilization purposes. That was difficult because I come from a culture where assessing that type of service really stigmatizes you. You'd rather be called an alcoholic than called a person that suffers from mental illness. And I had to get past that because I realized that one needed more. It saved my family and it helped us come to a healthier place because there were times that, in view of Juan's very very escalated behavior, I found myself as a mother mentally coaching myself just to be able to hug him because all I could see was the distortion of my painting. I couldn't see the exotic colors lashing out. I couldn't even see a glimpse of that beautiful baby boy that he was. And it just became so unhealthy for both of us. I had to let go in order to hold on to my child because I wasn't the specialized person that needed to help him, or I didn't have the tools. And we've tried everything, including trying to recreate a residential program within our home. Juan is in the second bout of residential treatment. And there's plenty of hope for Juan. Being able to spend that good quality time instead of battling this monster on a daily basis, minute by minute, it's such a great feeling. When I look back, had I had this information, Juan would definitely benefit from early intervention, and maybe I could have accessed different programs like Birth to Three. I didn't know anything about Birth to Three. They could have seen something that took such a long time to identify. And someday very soon, I want to say, Juan will be back at home, and it's just given us the time to become a healthier, more productive, more loving family.
I want to thank you three women for being with us today and sharing your stories about the incredible amount of work and love you have for your children that have mental illness. For some of you, it started very, very early when they were very young. And I just want to spend some time talking about what it's like to be a mother of a child with a mental illness, and what you think other mothers who may have a child with mental illness may need to know, or not just a mother, a parent, a father as well. So Marta, maybe I'll start with you in terms of, as a mother, what has it been like for you to parent?
To parent Juan, I totally have to reprogram myself because I had to come to the realization that I was always going to have to advocate for Juan and help him get to the point where he can advocate for himself. I would say to every parent, don't be afraid to knock on those doors and don't be afraid to say, I don't know, I don't understand. Follow every direction that you're pointed in. Do the research. Don't get discouraged when those doors close. Knock on as many doors as possible. Educate yourself on what diagnoses are. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Keep an open mind when it comes to medication. It can certainly make a difference. I mean, I had to actually put myself through a piece when he was diagnosed with ADHD. I wanted to understand what his world was like, so therefore I tried to read a couple of chapters while having a headset on of just static and trying to remain focused on that. Just try to understand and, simulate those different situations, because the better you understand what his limitations are, the better you're going to be, the more qualified you're going to be to advocate for your child. And I think it's just not being discouraged and not being afraid to ask those questions or to follow up with research. The internet is an awesome tool. There are a lot of websites out there that can certainly help you understand all of those pieces.
Well, thank you, Marta. Laverne, I've heard educate and also heard the word fear a lot. When you first thought maybe there was something going on with your son, were you afraid, or what were the feelings you had initially when there were questions being raised about your son?
I was afraid. I was scared. Didn't know which way to go, who to turn to, who to blame. But it don't help to ball up in the corner and cry. You have to just do what you have to do, for yourself and for your kid. And that's what I did. I used, like I said before, 211, and they was a big help. And I went to the school, and whoever was there, and family members was a big support as far as helping me. And I use the internet as well. So, and I educate myself on reading so that I can get a better understanding of what was going on. And I asked a lot of questions.
So, I guess maybe don't crawl into, as you said, ball yourself in a little in the corner, and don't be afraid that you really just have to ask those questions.
But it's okay to cry if you need to cry.
We probably all did a lot of crying.
Yes.
Liz, was there any sort of times when you were trying to find where to point the finger for why this was happening to your child?
I think initially, before you really have a clear understanding about mental illness and about different diagnoses and causes, you just don't understand. I mean, so someone somewhere must be doing something wrong. It could be you, could be the school, could be your spouse, who knows? It wasn't really a blame game, it was just more of, I need to understand what's happening, and I don't understand it, and it doesn't make sense. And it didn't make sense because that's not the world that we live in.
You're isolated from so many people that you normally would socialize with, including family, because of your child's behavior and their inability to understand what the situation might be. You're often isolated. You're placed in situations where one child is invited to a birthday party, but the child with the mental illness isn't. And as a parent, it's a painful process. And then you find yourself that you yourself are isolating your child and yourself because you're trying to protect that child. And for me, particularly, it's important to continue advocating for Juan and his right to be a part, not just of the family, but of our community, our neighborhood.
Have you found stigma around, your parents of other children and in your community? Has that been difficult? And have you been able to be sort of open about your child's illness? I guess that's the question I really want to ask, because there is some stigma around mental illness. So I don't know, Liz, if you have
I chose not to hide it from people. I think it's more important that it be out there and that I be blasé in some respects about it, because I don't want people to be afraid of him. He certainly doesn't want people to be afraid of him either, because he is so desperate for companionship and friends and love. And even when he acts up, he recognizes later, oops, I've made a huge, horrible mistake, and tries to make amends. But I want this illness to be the same as diabetes or leukemia or any other illness that children go through and not be made to feel bad for it and not have my child be excluded from activities because of it. Does he need more oversight? You bet. Do I show up at a lot of play dates? And activities after school. I have to be very careful what he participates in. But we've told a lot of friends or past schoolmates' parents with typical children about what's going on. We've been lucky that we haven't been totally stigmatized, isolated from our community. But it's hard. You have a few friends who really support you and then other people who don't know what to say or do.
Laverne, is that different in the African American community? Has your experience been similar to Liz's, or how have you handled that?
Well, I found the hardest with myself is my family. You know, they don't understand it. It's like not in our family, you know, and I'm trying to educate them, and they seem to want to use other words that I won't allow them to use. And I told them till they understand it, you know. And so I have to I have a couple of family members that's very supportive, but for the most part, majority of them, they don't understand. So I when we have family gatherings, I have to watch, you know, my son very closely, and I hear different ones saying different things about him and this and that. And I'm always coming to his defense, you know, trying to educate them and to let them know what is going on, because they don't know. They don't know. And so, you know, it's so easy to point fingers and say things that's not true. And so that is what's going on.
It's okay if you're mentally ill, but keep him behind closed doors.
Right.
Don't bring him into the equation. And I won't stand for that as a parent. I can't.
So all in all, after you got over this for the first hurdle in speaking to this about your family, are your families been supportive all in all, or where actually do you get your support for yourself as a parent so you can continue to be the best parent for your child? Where do you get the support?
I get my support from friends that I've met along the advocacy that I've done for Juan. It helps to go to other support groups and learn and share with other parents. I think it's important to be around a table of parents experiencing the same challenges and the same frustrations, and just knowing that you're not alone is so important. That helped me a lot through this process. It continues to help me to continue to advocate for Juan. It's empowering, not just for myself, but for Juan, becoming a family advocate and knowing that in some way, every day, everything I do through the works with my families, impacting the quality of life of not just my son, but others like him. And again, my religious beliefs, that keeps me whole centered and knowing that there's still hope.
Have you found that it's easy or difficult to access services for your child, and are there the services that your child need? Are they out there and are they available? I don't know, Liz, maybe.
I've heard lots of different experiences from lots of different parents, and it depends on a whole bunch of factors. I found it easy to access the system once I was in the system. It's getting into the system, knowing what's even available, what you should even be trying to be a part of. That's the hard thing. It's very difficult to know who to even start speaking to, at what point you should be saying something to your school, at what point you should be demanding something from your school, because there's no one who's going to take your hand and walk you through it necessarily. And that's a shame. It would be helpful for parents if something existed where a parent advocate existed to walk you through the various steps. I was lucky that the school my son was in, the principal and the teacher were both supportive of him getting services, and when things got very, very difficult, were supportive of putting him in and out of district placement. But I'm very lucky. There's many people I come across on a regular basis who wait until their kids are in middle school, high school, and have a really difficult time accessing what they need.
I understand you have to work very hard to be your child's advocate, and that it sounds like the services are there, but there's no map, and it's hard to find the person that can help you. So, what would you say to a family that is first starting on this journey? Is there sort of one thing, I would love to hear from each of you, one thing you would say to a family that is just starting on this journey?
211 info line.
Info line, and that's the state service, and
Yeah.
all you have to do is dial.
You can
Really, and that
obtain
was helpful.
any referral. I mean, they have very well qualified staff. If they don't have an answer for you, they will obtain it. They do great follow-up work just to make sure that the referral information they gave you worked out for you. And if it didn't, they will come up with another referral. I think that has really been key to a lot of families that I've worked with, and accessing those referrals, because often than not, you really don't know. Even when you're capable of doing your own advocacy, if you don't know where you're going to advocate at or for, it becomes a tremendous challenge. So I would just say 211.
Laverne, on a personal level, what would you tell another parent? I mean, about what they need to do for themselves as they start on this journey.
I would tell them to be patient, and don't give up. To be patient and don't give up, because your thoughts are your reality, and if you believe that you can do it, you can. And it's just, like I say all the time, it's just a storm that's just going to pass. You just have to hang in there, be patient, and don't give up.
Do you have anything else you would want a person that's just starting on this journey and doesn't know where to go to or what question to ask?
I tell them also to look into the special ed PTAs that might be available to them depending on their school district. SEPTA has a lot of different parents who know a lot of information about various types of mental illnesses or learning disabilities. They provide programming, they provide after school programs as well. They provide links to other information groups, and all you can do is know you're not alone, and you just have to keep plugging along till you find your niche, find your group of people who can help you. Patience, you cannot be more patient than if you're the parent of a special needs or a mentally ill child.
All right, so if I could summarize, is don't be afraid, educate yourself, become your child's best advocate, and follow up, because you're the one that has to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, we're the specialists on our children. Always acknowledge that, you may not have a master's degree in psychology, but you know your child best. You are your child's specialist. You need to drive that bus.
Well, I think we'll end with that. You're your child's specialist, and your best advocate for your child is the mom or the dad. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you. We've learned a lot today.
A parent can play a crucial role in the care of a child with a mental illness. If you or someone you know has a child that is experiencing struggles at home, with their friends, or in school, it might be time to get some help. Call 211 and find some answers, or on the web at ct.networkofcare.org. Help is readily available. Start the journey today. This is Kim O'Reilly for the Caring Network.
Thank you for watching the Caring Network.